sense perception, that is pratyaksha. Next is by anuman or inductive method. Basically, this is like hypothesis. You know, we see two things or hear two things and we put two and two together and we hypothesize. But we discussed how both of these methods, although they're good and they give us valuable information, actually they're imperfect. They may be flaws because we have imperfect senses to start with. But Shabda Praman, or deductive, that is actually a very foolproof method. It's very authoritative because Shabda is basically scriptures which come from God, and God is beyond these defects. So the Vedas are the breathing of God, or the word of God, and they're the ultimate body of knowledge. So we accept Vedas as the Shabda Praman because they come from an absolute source, and they're infallible because they stand the test of what is the difference between a living body and a dead body, right? Because we say he's gone. Who's gone? The body is still there, but somebody's gone. Who's that person who's gone? It's the soul. And then there is intuitive understanding. You know, just by saying my hand, my leg, you're already making the discrimination, or there's a distinguishing point here that we're not saying I hand, I leg, but my hand means that I am separate from that leg or hand or nose or eyes or whatever it is. And we discussed that consciousness is a symptom of the soul. And wherever there's a soul, there's consciousness, and we recognize that by thinking, feeling, willing. We discussed near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and past life memories as another proof of existence of the soul. And then we talked about some of the characteristics of the soul, how it's indestructible, it's individual, it's immutable, it's eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. It changes bodies, and it's very small, and it's inconceivable. And the modern civilization, we're all about polishing the cage of the body. We talked about this little analogy where this lady is polishing the cage, but she's not feeding the bird inside. So we're starting the bird of the soul. We're doing everything possible for the mind and body, this gross body and the subtle body, but we're neglecting the soul. So our humble attempt should be to nourish the soul. So we discussed, does God exist? And then, who am I? Now we want to know who is God so that we can actually act in our relationship with God. Because when we spoke about does God exist, we spoke of Him as one person, isn't it? It sounded at least that there is one supreme controller, one supreme proprietor. We spoke of Him as one God, although He's known by different names. So He's known as Allah. Allah means all-powerful, or He's known as Jehovah. It means all-merciful. He's known as Krishna, means all-attractive, or Rama means all-pleasure. But we may say, all right, if you're saying Krishna is God, or there is one God, then what about all the many gods that we see? Isn't it? So many gods. So we're confronted with this question, okay, if there is one, then what about all this? And if there is many, okay, we're satisfied already that everyone is God. But if there is only one, then what is the position of all these other different gods? So that's what we want to address today. Is it one God or many gods? And if there's many, what's the connection between all of them? Okay. So I want to just, we did this just now in our review, but just going to go back to this because this is very important. The basis of this talk now on will be based on scripture. Okay? So we discussed what is this pratyaksha praman, or direct sense perception, and anuman, or analytical understanding, and then the shabda praman. So till now, all the different sessions, there was a lot of logic and reason and all that. But we're going to have to make a little leap of faith here Because we're going to talk now based on scripture. Because we did prove in the session on Does God Exist, that if we want to acquire knowledge, what is a good place to acquire this knowledge? We cannot acquire knowledge that is beyond the range of our senses using our senses. If you remember, we discussed the example of a frog in the well, right? The frog in the well lived in the well, and his friend went to the Pacific Ocean and came back and tried to describe this, this large body of water, but this frog in the well just couldn't imagine with its limited range of senses. So you need a method beyond that, just beyond this Pratyaksha Praman or Anuman Praman, to understand something that is beyond the range of our senses. And God is beyond the range of our senses. And information about Him, how do we know God, is from scriptures. So, we walk by faith and not by sight, even in this world. Can you give me some examples of where we place faith? Just day-to-day things. Do we place faith? Do we reason everything, or do we place faith? Can you give me one or two examples?
Yeah, for example, we will plan for tomorrow thinking that we can be alive tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Good example. Do you remember an example we gave during the discussion of Vedas? If you want to know who's our father, what's the best way to know it? We place faith in our mother, right? You can say, I can do genetic studies, but if you want to genetically study all the men, forget about all the men, even if you want to test 10% of the men in the world, how long will it take? Do the math. It will take at least 800 to 1,000 years, taking 1 minute or 10 minutes, 1 minute, I think I did some calculation, 1 minute even for each, experiment. It's impossible. But if you place faith in the mother, and we all place faith in our mother, that mother said, this is your father, we don't question it a second time. What are some other common examples every day where we place faith? Do you go to a doctor? Do you place faith in the doctor? Do you go to
the house, father, husband, we have some, if he says something.
Yeah?
We have some faith.
You'll have some faith. Okay. Do you have faith in the bus driver or the train driver or the pilot? How do you know? Did you go check his credentials? You did. You just bought a ticket and you hope United Airlines will fly you without taking you off board, right? Who won't drag you out of the plane, right? So we place faith. So faith is a very, very integral part of our life. Even you go for a haircut or something, you have to have some faith that he's not going to slit your neck with that knife, the barber. There's faith involved, so you can't act without faith in any part of your life. You cannot do away. So faith is such an integral part of our life, and even in science there's faith involved, as we discussed. Nobody tested is G is equal to 9.81 meters per second squared, right? We didn't test, we accepted it. Maybe some people tested, but most of us didn't. We accepted it upon faith. So, we want to put our faith in Scripture. We've been placing faith in many places so far. Let us give Scriptures a chance to tell us who God is. Okay? So, Scriptures do tell us that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's called Bhagavan. He is the one who's known as Allah or Jehovah or Rama. He's the same person. Okay, we're going to start with that. But we're going to prove also how. Okay? So what is this based on? This is not just based on because I like Krishna. Okay, I don't get paid here. I'm not getting paid at all to tell you all this. It's not because I'm dark, Krishna is black, so that's why I like him. One time Srila Prabhupada, he went to Africa and he was telling the people there, that Krishna is black in color, and all the Africans just became super like excited and happy. Oh, this is our God, because Krishna is black. And then Prabhupada said, well, Krishna is black, but he's not black like you. It's a different black. Because normally black color, what does it do? It absorbs light, right? We don't wear black when it's bright and sunny because it absorbs light. But Krishna's black reflects light. He's very effulgent. And he's black like the monsoon cloud. So it's also not because I like playing flute, or because I like the peacock feather, or because he has many girlfriends. Of course, that's not the right thing, first of all, to understand that he has girlfriends. Or it's not because my last name is Yadav, and he was also born in Yadav dynasty, so I like him. Or because I love butter, and Krishna likes butter. Or there's a thief, and I happen to be a little thief, right? This is not our basis. Our attraction to God or belief in God should not be based on our likes and dislikes. Who are we to define who God is? We are not the person. Scripture will define who God is. Our attraction should be based on Scripture. So everything that we're going to discuss for the third time, I'm saying, is going to be based on Shastra or Scripture. So we'll go back to this definition of God we discussed, and we're going to show how Krishna fulfills each of these things. Okay? So now, first of all, here's a question. Is he some impersonal light or energy God? Or is he actually the Supreme Person? What do you all think? Is he a person or not? He's a person. Okay. Anybody has some different opinions? Does he have a form or is he formless? Formless. Okay, so you said formless. Alright. How about others who have some views? Why do you say he's formless? Why do you say he's formless?
Why did I say it's formless? Because God is everywhere.
Oh, okay.
God is
So because God is everywhere, you think he's formless. Okay, we'll discuss that. Very good point. Alright.
I said he's everything. He's light, he's energy, he's a person.
Very good. Okay, I like that answer too. I like your answer too. Anyone has any other third opinion, fourth opinion?
I think to perceive God, you have to perceive him as a person. To realize that
Okay. Fair
in
enough.
reality, that may or may not be true. To us,
Okay.
what
Okay.
we believe is
Okay, good. Although you can perceive energies too. You can perceive energies, right? You perceive gravity, it's an energy, right? You perceive heat, you perceive cold. Okay, good. Now, so I would say that God, in order to be God, he must be formless and he should have a form. Okay? So this is the answer. He should be formless and she should have a form. Let us think of a simple question, or answer to the simple question. Were we born from a light or an energy, or were we born from someone who has a form and a shape? Everyone, right? Nobody was just born from an energy, right? Everybody was born from a father and mother who had some shape and form. So if we all are born from someone who has a form and shape, and Krishna is the Supreme Father, or God is the Supreme Father, can he not, is it fair to say that he doesn't have a form and a shape? Does it make sense? How do forms come out of someone who doesn't have a form? And if we say that he's formless, we're also saying that he lacks something. Can God lack anything? No. And if we say he has no form, he also lacks something. Isn't it? We're putting a limitation upon him. But we may say, some people say, oh, he's all pervasive, he's formless, he's everywhere. And if you say he has a form, we're limiting him. But actually, if we say he doesn't have a form, we are limiting him. Because there's something lacking. So we have a form, but here is God who doesn't have a form. He's only formless. So God cannot lack anything. He is everything, right? So he must be formless and he must have a form. So this may sound a little bit bewildering for us. How is that possible? We're going to resolve this. Because normally, if you take a form, you take a paper or something, and you tear up the paper, and you distribute it all around the room, the original form is gone. Now it's all pervading, but that form of paper is gone, right? So actually, a simple example is given to understand this. And before that, I'll share a verse from Srimad Bhagavan, which tells us about the different understandings of the Absolute Truth. This is a very famous verse. Vadantika tattvavidas tattvam yajnana advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shatyate. So the learned transcendentalists, they know Absolute Truth as this non-dual substance called Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So these are the three ways actually God can manifest himself: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And we'll discuss what each of these mean. So, using a simple example. Okay? So, this is what? This is sunshine. Okay? Does sunshine have form? Does sunshine have form? No, it doesn't. But it's everywhere, right? But does sun have a form? It does have a form. There is a sun planet, right? So sunshine is formless and it's all-pervading. So just like sunshine is formless and all-pervading, Krishna shine is formless and all-pervading. Literally, it's Krishna shine. And Krishna shine is called Brahma-Jyoti. Yeah? Brahma-Jyoti is actually impersonal, and this is the energy of the Lord that is all-pervading everywhere. But just as there is a sun planet, which is the localized form of the sun, there is a place from where the sun rays are coming. So in that same manner, Paramatma realization is the localized aspect of the Absolute Truth. So you can see, this is Super Soul, is within all of us. Okay, so this is the Paramatma or the Super Soul form of the Lord. This is the localized manifestation. Okay? And then, in the sun planet, when somebody studies sun even beyond that, in the sun planet is the sun god. There's other people who live there, so they don't have bodies like us, but they have bodies that can withstand this intensity of heat on the sun planet, and they have relationships, and there's variety on the sun. So that is the full understanding of the sun planet. And so you can see that the sun planet has three phases of understanding, right? So this full understanding of the sun, where we understand that there's a sun god, and then there's other living entities on the sun, and they all have relationships, and they do a variety of things, that is the full realization. And similarly, Bhagavan realization, as you can see here, that is the full realization of the Absolute Truth. So he's a person, he has a form, he has a place where he lives called Golika Vrindavan. There's many living entities there who are having relationship with God, and they're doing many wonderful activities. They're having loving exchanges with each other. Right? So this is the three phases of understanding the Absolute Truth. So God has a form, he has a localized form, an original form, a localized form that is in every living entity, and he's all-pervading also as the Brahma-Jyoti. So he's all three things. So this Brahman, this is also the eternal feature of the Lord. Okay? So if somebody realizes the Brahman aspect, then they realize only the eternity of the Lord. They don't have the other understandings. We're going to talk about that. So, He is all-pervading, He is abstract, so formless and featureless. Okay? So this is a verse from Bhagavad Gita which describes, so Krishna himself is speaking about his all-pervasive nature here. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. Making sense? So this is the God is all-pervading. So if he's all-pervading, does he lose himself in everything? He doesn't lose himself. Because in the next two lines of that same verse say, Matsthani sarvabhutani nachaham teshavastitaha. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. In the sense that he's there as the super soul, but that original form personally is not there. His expansion is there. So it's not like he is divided, it's his expansion. You with me, everyone? Yes? Okay. So you can understand this very simply using an analogy. Okay, Prabhupada was very wonderful in explaining complex things using simple analogies that we can readily relate to. So just like if there is a king or a government, right? Then everything that is there in the government is what? It's king's energy, right? That is how everything is functioning. It's by his energy. So, but yet, is the king personally there? No. But the king's energies are there, his laws are there, or the government laws are there. So he's present. You feel the king's presence through his energies, basically. And similarly, you can understand how God is all-pervading through his energies. Now, Krishna also speaks in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the basis of the Brahman. I'm not just saying it. Okay, there's many places where this conclusion comes. But here's one verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna himself is speaking. He says that I am the basis. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Pratishtaham means like the foundation. Okay? He's saying I am the basis of impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Okay? So, he's the basis. So, form is superior to formlessness. That's very clear because the formless or the all-pervading feature comes from the form. And then there is the Paramatma. So, when somebody realizes Paramatma, they realize the eternal feature and the knowledge feature or the cognizance of the Lord. And the Paramatma is present in everyone's heart, and he is present as the overseer, the one who provides memory or intelligence and forgetfulness. He also witnesses all our activities and he sanctions all our activities. Without his sanction, nothing happens. So here is a verse from Bhagavad Gita, again speaking about the Paramatma. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Super Soul. Upadrashta and Anumanta. Overseer, Upadrashta, and Anumanta, there is the sanction. So, God is in you and me, is in everyone. And then finally, the Bhagavan realization is the full realization of God, where one realizes the eternity and the cognizance and the bliss, Sat, Chit, and Ananda. This is what. So Sat is eternity, Chit is the knowledge aspect, and Ananda is the bliss. So here's a verse from Brahma Samhita. So these verses, Brahma Samhita verses, were composed by Lord Brahma in his full mature realization. So he's saying that who is God? who is the cause of all causes? He says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Adi Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. So Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. So here you can see again, Brahma is saying he has a form, right? So he has a form, he has a personality, he has qualities, he has all opulences, and he's the original source of everything. He's the supreme creator, supreme enjoyer, supreme controller. Now we're going to go through all these things also about Bhagavan, okay? So what does Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam say about each of these characteristics or qualities of God? So let's discuss now the ultimate source of everything. So what is this table made of? Wood. What is wood made of? Trees. What is tree made of? Seeds. Okay. All right, too fast. What are seeds made of? Fruits. Okay, I was wanting it to go in a little different direction. But maybe we can, instead of going the long way. But yeah, we can keep going. But if you go further and further, we'll come to the conclusion that trees, in one sense are made of earth. You put a seed, but what, the seed is so small, where is the tree coming out of? Where is it coming out of? Yeah, but where are the resources for that? We know that, what is it? E is equal to mc squared, right? The total energy is constant. So it has to be a transformation of something else, right? So you put in a small seed and a big tree is coming out. Okay, it starts small and slowly starts growing. So where is the substance for it coming from? It's coming from earth, isn't it? So, and then there's other elements. Do you remember we discussed 4 other elements in one of the classes before? Material energy consists of 5 elements.
Fire,
Earth, water, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Very good. Very good memories all of you have. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. So, and all this is called matter. How many of us made earth? Can you make earth? No. Can you make water? We can make water. Why do you say you can't make water? H2O, right? Put 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen and you can make water. But can you make hydrogen and oxygen? No. So who made it? Krishna made it. And he tells us this in Bhagavad Gita. Bhumir apo analo vayu ka mano buddhi evacha ahankara ityam bhinna prakriti ashtada. So earth, water, fire, air, ether. So those are the gross elements. If you remember last time we also talked about subtle body. The subtle body consists of mind, intelligence, false ego. So that is also subtle matter. This is gross matter and that is subtle matter. So all these 8, altogether, these 8 constitute my separated energies. So Krishna made them. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. And what's our body also made of?
Why are we calling it false ego? Why the term false ego instead of just ego?
Because this false ego is, because real ego is what? Soul. Because ego means the sense of who I am. Okay? So real ego means I am the soul. False ego means that which we are not. False ego always means that we are identifying with matter, subtle or gross. So the subtle matter is also comes from Krishna. Okay? So he is the source of all material energy. We can understand from this because everything is a transformation of these 5 elements. Our body is also made of these 5 elements. Anybody who knows a little bit about Ayurveda, you know that our body is made of these 5 elements. So if only matter was there, would anything move in this world? Nothing would move in this world, right? Can matter move by itself? Can the table walk? No. Can the mic walk? No. So there is a superior force. And what is that? It is the living entities, right? It is the soul has to move. And where does the soul come from? That also comes from Krishna. In the very next verse, Krishna tells us, Aprayam itaspanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahavaho yayegam dhyate jagat. So besides this, O mighty Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Now, is there anything superior to, we living entities? Are there superior living entities and inferior living entities? Yes? Yes, we talked about in the first class. Yes, there's animals, there's trees, there's insects, reptiles, birds, all that, right? So those are there, and also there is the superior living entities. Who are they? Any superior living entities than us? Upper planetary systems, very good. So in the heavenly planets also there's living entities like the demigods and sages and so on. Sages are also superior living entities. Where do they come from? They also come from Krishna. Krishna says in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that he says, neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect, I am the source of the demigods and the sages. So here he's saying, he's the source of all the devatas and the sages. So we're getting to understand that he's the source of everything. And he also directly says in yet another verse of Bhagavad Gita that he is the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabho mattha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samandita. That I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their heart. So, okay, there was supposed to be a picture, but I didn't show. Everything emanates from me. Krishna showed this to Mother Yashoda, how all the universes are in his mouth. And iti matva bhajanti mam, the wise who perfectly know this engage in his devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. And further, he also says that there is no truth superior to him. He says that everything rests upon him, just like pearls are strung on a thread. So when you see the necklace or pearls, do you see the string inside? No, you don't see the string. But the pearls are resting on a string. And Krishna is saying that everything that is manifested actually rests upon him. So through these few verses, we've shown how he is the ultimate source of everything, Krishna. Now he's also the supreme creator. And this he says in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So here's what he says. O son of Kunti, he's speaking to Arjuna, and he's saying at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations, they enter into my nature. And at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. So you can see here, this is Krishna. This is his plenary expansion, Mahavishnu. And as he breathes, from every pore of his body comes out the universe. So here he is surrounded by so many universes. And then the verse continues, the whole cosmic order is under me, under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. Bhutva, bhutva, praliyate. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end also. So he is the supreme creator. He is also the supreme controller. Of course, we can quote many, many verses, but then you have to sit here many, many days. So we're just giving you like a little glimpse of each thing. So he's also the supreme controller. So he says again in Bhagavad Gita, I'm just using Bhagavad Gita for most of these things, not even going to many other scriptures, although we can quote from many other places. So he says, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena pantaya jagat vipari vartate. So this material world, which is one of my energies, he's saying, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti. So just go back to this slide here. So this is material energy, Durga. And she is working under his supervision or direction. And here is also, this is Krishna, and this is the three modes of nature. You all heard of Sattva Gun, Rajagun, Tamagun, right? And we are always pulled by these different gunas, by the influence of these different gunas, the modes, and all working under his direction. And producing all moving and non-moving beings. So he is the supreme controller. Everything is happening under his control. Then he is also the supreme enjoyer. So this is a very famous verse, also from the 5th chapter. Bhoktaram, Bhokta means enjoyer. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam, sarva loka maheshwaram. So he is the supreme enjoyer, Bhoktaram, of all yajnas and all austerities. And sarva loka maheshwaram, he is the supreme proprietor. Suhridam sarvabhutanam means that he is the supreme benefactor or friend of all living entities. And Nathavam Shanti. And if we understand these three things, actually one can get peace. This is called the peace formula verse actually. That if we understand that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, supreme proprietor, and the supreme benefactor, then we can be at peace. Because when we don't understand this, what happens? We try to be the enjoyer, we try to be the proprietor, we try to be the friend of someone, and we have problems, right? So this is the translation of that verse. Now, I want to introduce to you another definition of Bhagavan that we didn't discuss during the session on Does God Exist? This is a very loaded session, so bear with me because there's so much to say. But hopefully you're not getting lost. Not getting lost, right? Anybody getting lost here? Okay. So, this is a definition that is given by Parashara Muni about Bhagavan. Bhaga means opulence, and Van means the possessor. Okay? So one who possesses all opulences, he is called as Bhagavan. And there is 6 opulences that are described here. So go to the next slide. So strength, wealth, fame, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. So these 6 opulences must be present in full for somebody to qualify as Bhagavan. Do some of us have some knowledge? Or do we have a lot of knowledge in something? Yes, we do, maybe in some field. But can we say that we have all the knowledge? No. Maybe we know, I don't know what other IT languages nowadays, whatever, C++ or whatever it is. You know C++, maybe you know Java, but you can't say you know everything about everything. You know, people who work in the front end or back end or whatever they call it. You know, I'm not an IT person, so you see I shouldn't speak about that. I should speak about maybe the medical field. And you may be a pediatrician or a surgeon or something. A pediatrician won't know everything about surgery. She may know about, he or she may know about pediatrics, but they won't know about everything else. But Krishna has all these opulences in full, and therefore he's all attractive. In fact, the very name Krishna means all attractive. Because when somebody has a little opulence in this world, a little wealth, or a little beauty, do you get attracted to them? Yes? When a person has one of these 6 things in a little more quantity, you get attracted to them. So imagine a person who has all of these opulences in fullness, has to be unattractive. In fact, he's so attractive, he gets attracted to himself. This is not just a picture, it's true. There's a whole pastime about it. He gets attracted to himself. So let's go through each of these quickly. So wealth. How much wealth can we have? You know, even the wealthiest person in the world, you know, he cannot claim to have, you know, wealth of everyone. But Krishna owns the wealth of everyone, and therefore sometimes we say, you know, if God wants to take, you know, how much can you resist with your 2 hands? Or they say that if God wants to give, how much can you take with 2 hands? Because He's the possessor of everything. So what are some maybe, you know, examples of this? This is Krishna entering Dwarka. And when Krishna enters Dwarka, how many palaces does he have in Dwarka? 16,108 palaces for all his queens. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a description of these palaces, how they're studded with jewels and gems and marble floors, and, you know, very detailed description. Emeralds and rubies and diamonds, you know, studded in the walls and everywhere. It's got to have a lot of wealth to have 16,108 palaces like that. Or, you know, even when he appeared, so this is Vasudeva and Devaki in the prison, and Krishna is going to make his appearance very soon. Janmashtami is coming up. When he appeared with all jewelry. Who appears with jewelry? Any baby ever seen with jewelry? No. Or this other pastime where the fruit vendor, you know, comes to sell fruits, and Krishna goes inside and brings some little rice in his palms, but by the time he comes out, all the rice drops from the middle of his fingers, and he has nothing, few grains left. But anyway, the fruit vendor was just so pleased to see Krishna. He was so much in love with Krishna that she just gave the fruits. And later, Krishna fills her whole basket with jewels. Or this is a very big proof of how Krishna is the owner of all wealth, is that usually people worship Lakshmi for what? Wealth. And where is Lakshmi always found? At the feet of Narayana, of Krishna. And how many Lakshmis serve Krishna all the time? Thousands of Lakshmis. Lakshmi sahasra satasambhrama sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Lord Brahma says, thousands of Lakshmi forms are worshipping Lord Vishnu and Narayana. So that's just a little bit about how Krishna possesses all wealth. About beauty, there's this famous verse which says that if you're still wanting to enjoy the company of your friends within this world, then don't look at Krishna who's standing on the bank of Yamuna, or Keshigarh is by the bank of Yamuna. He's known as Govinda, and his eyes are very enchanting. He's playing upon his flute, and his head, and on his head is the peacock feather, and his whole body is illuminated by the moonlight in the sky. So meaning that how beautiful Krishna is. It's not saying don't look. Actually, by saying don't look, it is glorifying Krishna's beauty, saying that once you look, you're gone. You know, you'll forget everything else. There was a lady once, this is a joke, but there was a lady who went into the hospital because she had a heart attack. And, you know, she was desperate and she prayed to God saying, please save me, please save me, please save me, I don't want to die yet. So God says, all right. And he said, okay, you will live another 15 years. And then the lady thinks, I'm in the hospital anyway, so, you know, maybe I should just get some plastic surgery done and liposuction and all that and just become more beautiful. So she gets everything done. And then she comes out of the hospital very happy, looking very young. And she comes out and she has an accident and she dies on the spot. And so she says to God, why did you do this to me? And God says, well, I mean, I didn't recognize you, you know. So the point of this joke is that our beauty in this world, it fades with age. But Krishna's beauty is something that doesn't fade with age. Do you know how old Krishna was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? 125 years old. And how old did he look? 16 years old. He's ever young and ever beautiful. Do you ever see a picture of old Krishna with gray hair and beard or something? Ever seen anybody? No. No, he never looks old. He's always young, right? So Krishna's beauty is eternal. One time a teacher asked in a class, I am very beautiful. Which tense is that? And all the students said past tense. So our beauty is like that. And Krishna's beauty also. Do we get attracted to the beauty of animals, and do we ever fall in love with them? Do we get married to them and stuff like that, or something? Or do the animals ever come and tell us, "Oh, how beautiful you are"? No. But Krishna's beauty is all attractive. All the animals are also attracted to him, and they love him. So here on the left side is Krishna. The right side is Lord Chaitanya, who is none other than Krishna also in the mood of Radharani. So his beauty never dwindles. Then strength, right? When he was just a few weeks old, he took care of Putana. When he was just 5 years old, he lifted Govardhan Hill, and he lifted it with his left hand, with his pinky finger. And it's not because he was a lefty, he was a righty. He was a righty. And the little finger of his left hand, this is usually the weakest finger that we have, but he lifted with that for 7 whole days, and it wasn't like he was struggling. No, just effortlessly. And he didn't go for bodybuilding exercises either. Wrestlers or some bodybuilders in this world, how long they have to practice. And even then they lift 200 pounds, and hard. After like 30 seconds, they drop it down, So he didn't have to practice. When he was just 3 months old, Trinavarta, the wind demon, carried him up, and he just took care of him, with just little fingers. And he became heavier than the heaviest. He was very strong. Or he fought Chanura and Mushtika. So he has unlimited strength. And there's so many examples, but again, we're just giving a little sampling here. What about knowledge? Like I said before, we may know something about something or a lot about something, but we don't know everything about everything. But Krishna knows everything about everything. And even just 2 things shown here, the Bhagavad Gita and the Buddha Gita. Just Bhagavad Gita is actually a 45-minute talk to Arjuna. That's all it took. And this was some knowledge he spoke. He didn't prepare for it. And we are here trying to understand for years and years what he spoke in 45 minutes, the depth of it. Another feature of somebody who has all knowledge is that they should know past, present, and future. And Krishna knows past, present, and future. He says that in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, that I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. And then fame. So even before he appeared, while Krishna was in the womb, all the demigods, they're offering prayers to him. And this is because he's very famous. Krishna was known as the butter thief. And if somebody steals something, he doesn't become famous for it. Yeah, he becomes notorious for it for a few days on the newspapers. But thousands of years later, we derive great pleasure in talking about Krishna as the butter thief. Or one time, he ran away. Another name of Krishna is Ranchor. He tried to kill Jarasandha 17 times, and then he thought, this man is too much, and he just like ran away. But it's not like he was too much. He had another plan. He wanted to show mercy to another personality named Muchukunda. So he ran away. But till today, he's worshipped in Gujarat, in Dakor. There is a place, Ranchor Rai Temple. He's worshipped till today. For what? For running away from the battle. He's very famous. But we may say, oh, he's not famous all over the world. He's only an Indian god or something. Is he really famous all over? Yes. Srila Prabhupada made him famous all over the world. His fame was already there, but Srila Prabhupada made him famous all over the world. And also, like I said, if there is any opulence anywhere in this world to which we get attracted, what is that? That is just a spark of Krishna's splendor. He says, sorry, why are some slides just advanced by themselves? Okay, so he says, know that all opulent, beautiful and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So this is Krishna saying. So anything, anywhere that is beautiful or opulent or splendorous, it's just Krishna's manifestation. And we're getting attracted to that. Another way to look at it is, suppose, I was in a prison or something for a very long time, and I had no newspapers there. And I don't know who is the Prime Minister or the Chief Minister or the President or something like that. Does that mean that the President is not famous? Just because I don't know? I'm in this, prison? And in that same way, actually, we can understand that just because some parts of the world don't know, it doesn't mean that he's not famous, because the world is very large. As we saw, there's many, many universes. So there's demigods and other incarnations. All of them come to actually worship Krishna in different situations. Even Vishnu comes to see Krishna sometimes. So he's very famous. But just because some people don't know, it doesn't mean that he's not famous. And then renunciation. Just imagine, if any one of us has all of these opulences, what would become of us? If we had a lot of knowledge or a lot of beauty, what happens usually to us? Huh? Pride. We become proud. But Krishna is fully detached. He is the most beautiful, most friendly, everything, but he's detached. And here's a proof of how he's detached. That he becomes the charioteer of Arjuna, of his friend, his servant, his devotee. And do you ever see a big industrialist ever driving a car for his servant? Never. And it's not a very admirable position in one sense, or it's not something that brings prestige. In fact, when somebody is fighting a war, they're very absorbed in the war itself. And so the way they give directions to the charioteer is that they kick the driver, the charioteer. They kick on the right side of the spine to say go to the right, on the left side of the spine to say go to the left, or in the middle to say go straight. Would we ever take kicks like that from a servant while driving? We wouldn't. So that's proof. Nobody can be more renounced than that. And here is another example of his renunciation, the Rajasuya sacrifice that Maharaj Yudhishthira had done. Everybody took different services, but Krishna took the service of washing everyone's feet and actually taking the remnants from the plates of everyone. This is the service Krishna did. And what is the most wonderful form of his renunciation is that after speaking the whole Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna, I've explained to you everything, and now you can do what you like. Please think about it and do what you like. Normally, if we teach something to someone, I knew of one dance teacher who taught for 10 years to this person. And then after 10 years, this person became a devotee and became a brahmachari in the temple. And this teacher became so upset. I mean, even the parents were not upset. But the teacher became so upset because he was like, I taught you dance for so many years so that you will dance and you'll propagate my name in some way. But, so she was very attached, right? But Krishna was not attached. He was completely renounced or detached. So that was Krishna having all 6 opulences in full. Krishna now, he's also the origin of all the avatars. This is a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which tells us, so this whole chapter talks about many incarnations of the Lord. And then he says that all of them, he is the original Bhagavan. Krishna's through Bhagavan's story. There are many incarnations, but Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. He is the source of all incarnations. So there is 6 categories of incarnations. There is Purusha avatars, Leela avatars, Guna avatars, Manvantara avatars, Yuga avatar, and Shakti Avesh avatar. So normally we only know of Dashavatar, right? But actually there's so many categories of avatars, and the Bhagavatam describes that there are as many avatars as there are waves in an ocean. But yet, all these avatars are already described within the scripture. We're not supposed to just accept somebody who just says, I'm an avatar. There's ways to find out if they're actually an avatar or not. So, after hearing all this, you may have a question. That is Krishna the source of all incarnations, or is it Vishnu? We always thought, especially Indians, right? We think that Vishnu is the source of all incarnations. How many of you have this question in your mind right now? Anybody have this question? Yeah. So we say Vishnu, but actually Vishnu is an avatar of Krishna. And I'll tell you using a simple analogy. Suppose there is a big company, okay? Who runs the company? Is the CEO or the managing director or something like that, right? Does the owner have to come and run the company? He doesn't have to come and run the company. The CEO can run the company. But suppose one day the owner calls the CEO and he says, I'm coming today and I have some things to discuss. So he comes. And but people who work for the company, they've never seen him. They only know the CEO to be the one who's running the company. But the owner is still the owner, right? So because the employees don't know he's the owner, doesn't mean that he's not the owner. And the employees don't know that the owner appointed the CEO or the managing director to run the company. But if they knew that, they wouldn't be under this misunderstanding. Similarly, Krishna, who's the supreme enjoyer, does he need to come and run all the affairs of the material universe? He doesn't need to run. So he just appoints Vishnu. Vishnu is nothing but his expansion. So we call Krishna is Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, he's at home, and Vishnu expansion is like Krishna at work. He's at office. Vishnu is that kind of expansion. And so when the avatars come, they come through Vishnu, but Vishnu himself is actually an expansion of Krishna. And you saw in those pictures before, the Krishna on the top and then the Vishnu expansion, if you remember. So here is the Karana Vishnu from whom universes come out. And then into each universe enters Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and from his lotus navel comes this lotus stem from where Brahma is born, and he creates the material world after that. Although all the ingredients are given by Krishna or Vishnu. And then this is the Paramatma, this is the third form of Krishna. Or you can understand it through another simple analogy. So you can light many candles with one candle. And do all the candles have equal intensity of light? Yes. But still, there is one original candle. And that original candle, you can think of him as Krishna. Think of it like Krishna. Here's a very detailed chart. I'm not going to go through everything, but just to give you an idea. So this is Krishna. There is different kinds of expansion. So he expands himself during the rasa dance and for all his queens. So that is non-different than Krishna. Okay? And then here there is Vaibhav Prakash, which is a little different expansion. This has little different form and qualities than Krishna. This is all same, but this is a little different. And then there's further expansion here, which is called the Chaturvyuha, and all. I'm not going to go into that because that's just that we can discuss for a whole day. But just to show you, and then the partial manifestation of the Lord, Swamsa, and expansions of these are all these different categories of avatars that I told earlier. The Lila avatar, Purusha avatar. So these three Vishnus that we talked about, the Vishnu on the causal ocean, the Vishnu in each universe, and the Vishnu in our heart, these are called as Purusha avatars. And the Guna avatars is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Shakti avatars are basically empowered living entities. They're empowered with a particular Shakti of Krishna. And Manvantara avatars, they are, like the lawmakers kind of for mankind. And Yuga avatars, for every Yuga, there's a particular incarnation. We have so much more to cover. I'm going to speed up a little bit. So, we already saw this. God has a form, so I'm not going to speak about it right now. God as a person, it's also described in the Bible as well. Really, under his feet, inscribed with the finger of God, the hand of the Lord. So the personal conception of God is there even within the Bible. He's also the source of all qualities. This is a verse from Bhagavad Gita, just to show you, and I'm not going to read it. It's 10:4 to 5. But here Krishna says how he's the source of all qualities. He also says how he's the father of all beings. Two different verses here, 9th chapter and 10th chapter. So, very clearly you're convinced now, Krishna is the source of all material energy, all spiritual energy, all avatars, everything, right? So, but this question still remains. If Krishna is God, what about others, the many other forms that we see who are not avatars? What is their position? So just like I mentioned just now, the owner of the company, he has administrators to run the company. So similarly, demigods, they are like managers, basically. So just like to run a company, there are different departments, right? So to run the affairs of the universe, also there are different departments. And the demigods are basically universal administrators. So here's a verse which illustrates that. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna sacrifice, will supply all necessities to you. So they're in charge of the various necessities, the different departments. So here is a man-made government, okay? So there's different departments here. So I'll just go to the next slide. So just like here is the our government or ministry, you have all these different maybe departments, right? So similarly, in the universal government also, you have different departments. There is the defense in the form of immune system, protection systems, and other systems. Also there, somebody is in charge of each of these things. So finance, all these gold, silver mines, pearls, precious metals, these are just little samplings again. There's many categories and details. Sun, moon, wind, water, solar energy, health, Ayurveda, naturopathy, education, Vedas, other religious scriptures, domestic supply, rainfall trees, sunlight, hygiene and sanitation, rewards for best citizens, beautiful body, rich family, heavenly planet, spiritual world. So these are just a few categories. But it gives you an idea of how the whole universe is also run by certain individuals. And these individuals are basically the demigods or the devatas. Can you name some demigods that you know? Some devatas? Huh? Shiva has a little different category. It's interesting you mentioned him first. Shiva Tattva. He's not exactly a demigod and he's not exactly Vishnu Tattva. He has his own Tattva. He's described as being in between. Okay. Ganesha. Okay, Ganesha, what is he in charge of? Removing obstacles. He's in charge of that department. If you go and pray to Ganesh, you mean wealth? He can't do it. Who else? Yeah, who else? What are some other names of the demigods? Saraswati is in charge of education or knowledge. Okay, then? Lakshmi, wealth. Somebody is in charge of rain? Indra. Water is Varuna. Vayu is wind. Agni is fire, like that. Do you know how many demigods are there? 33 million demigods. There's so many, do you know a demigod controls, you just blinked. A demigod is control of blinking of the eyelid even. Did you know? There's a demigod who's in charge of that. There's a demigod in charge even for answering nature's call every morning. We can't, some people are very constipated. They should pray to the demigod Mitra if they're constipated. That means they messed up with Mitra. They haven't offered their dues to demigod Mitra. So for every aspect, there's a demigod in charge. So, and did you know that you can also become a demigod? You knew? Good. Good. So, demigod. So, is president a post or a person? It's a post. So we say Mr. President, but that's a post. So different people, come and occupy that post. Similarly, demigods are also their posts. It's a post occupied by a person. For example, the current Indra, his name is Purandra. The Indra after this, his name is Bali. It's already known. The next Indra will be Bali Maharaj, like that. Lord Brahma, he's also a demigod. And you can become Brahma. How you know? It's described. For 100 lives, if you don't do even one sin, then you can become Brahma. So it's possible to become. So what does that tell us about who demigods are then? Huh? They're mortal. They're also living entities. They're also souls. And it also means that they're mortal, that they die. So here is the lifespan of Brahma. Brahma lives for 311 trillion years. Okay? So that's just hard to even comprehend. That is 311 earth years, or human years. But according to him, he lives for 100 years. So it's a very long life. So demigods have longer life. Other demigods, their 1 day is equal to our 6 months. They have a very long life, but yet they also die. So now let us look at some differences between demigods and God. So demigods are many, as we already saw, and God is actually one. Demigods are parts and parcels of God, and God is the supreme whole. Anybody who's done any yajna or heard some mantras, you heard this mantra, Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Tada Pashanti Surya. You heard this verse? Maybe being chanted. It is basically saying that all the devotees or living entities, demigods, everyone is meant to worship the lotus feet of Vishnu. Then, they always worship the Supreme as obedient servants. And God is supremely worshipable. So do you see sometimes whenever there's problems, right? In universal affairs, sometimes there's problems in universal affairs, just like in this government we have problems. So where do the demigods usually go to? They go to Lord Brahma. And many times Lord Brahma solves the problems, but sometimes Brahma cannot solve the problem. And where does he go then? He goes to the shore of Milk Ocean to speak with Kshirodakshay Vishnu on the Shvetadip planet. So you can see from this that all the demigods, they are subservient to Krishna or God. And they're created by the Supreme. He's the Supreme Creator. They exist within the material nature, but God is beyond the material nature. So this is a verse. It's too small print here for me to even read. But this is a verse just showing how all the demigods are actually worshipping Krishna. And because of time, I'm not going to read the whole thing. We started a little late, but I hope to finish in the next 10 minutes or so. Okay, 10, 15 minutes, bear with me. I'm going to spill over a little bit because it's a very huge topic, and it's hard to do justice. So here's some more differences. So the demigods, they're delegated with various grades of power to manage the affairs of the universe, whereas God is the supreme controller. He's not dependent on anything else. Just a very quick story. One time, all the demigods, they were sitting and very proud of the powers that they had, and they were sitting and enjoying their powers. And that time, an old Brahmana walks in. And, Agni demigod, he asks, "Who are you?" And then the old Brahmana says, "Who are you?" And of course, the demigods feel very insulted. And then the Brahmana says, then Agni says, "I am Agni. I am Agni." And then the Brahmana says, "Well, what can you do?" And Agni says, "Well, I can burn the whole universe." And so the Brahmana says, "Can you burn this little piece of grass here?" And, he tries, but it just doesn't happen. Then Vayu comes along, and the old Brahmana says, "Can you blow away this piece of grass?" And he tries, goes, foo, foo, foo. It doesn't go anywhere. And so then Vayu understands after some time that this is not an ordinary Brahmana, and he says, "Please reveal your identity." And then the old Brahmana reveals his identity as Krishna. And then he says, "Please do not become puffed up with your borrowed plumes. Please remember that whatever power you have, you're getting from me. You're not independent in any way." So they are subordinate to the Supreme Will. He is supremely independent. And they have material bodies, as we just said, and they're subjected to birth, death, old age, disease, whereas Krishna is not subjected. So the demigods actually change 14 times in one day of Brahma. So the whole admin, the demigods' admin, changes 14 times in one day of Brahma, because one day of Brahma is so long. In one day of Brahma, there are 14 manus. And every manvantara period, the demigods change. So here is a verse from Bhagavad Gita to also show how from the topmost planet of Brahma down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains Krishna's abode, he never takes birth again. And also here, we're hearing at the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and when Brahma's night comes, they're again unmanifest. I may have to skip some of these slides, but this is just to show you the structure of the universe from the top to the bottom. This is Goloka Vrindavan, the spiritual world. this is like a cross section. So like this is the Brahma Jyoti, all this. And this is the material world over here. And there's many universes. This is Mahavishnu, many universes. This is the blow up of one universe. And here you see this one universe further represented here. There's a lower planetary system. The middle is the Earth, and then the heavenly planets here. There's a better picture here. Okay. More differences. So the demigods, they can come under the influence of the modes of nature. So you see sometimes that, Indra may get angry, but you never see Krishna getting angry. Or Brahma gets angry even. When Brahma is creating, the Kumaras, who are his 4 sons, they don't cooperate with him. And then he gets angry. And when he gets angry, from that anger, from his forehead, actually Shiva appears. So they may get angry, but Krishna is never influenced by the modes. They are temporary posts, we already said that. So now we want to talk something about the worship of the demigods. When we see people going to temples, what do they usually worship demigods for? I'm just going to say it because of time, otherwise I would ask you. So these are some of the things. People may go for peace of mind or faith or, blessings, children, favors, all kinds of different favors, right? Give me a house, give me my, beautiful wife, beautiful husband, or, Jai Jagadishwara Hare, give me nice car and a lot of wealth and so on, right? Let my child get his PhD and let him pass his CA in his first attempt, right? No end to this. So actually, when you consider this, is this worship or is it business? What do you think? Is it worship or business? It's business. And is it even a fair deal of business? That you go put $1 and then you ask for a promotion. Good one, yes. You ask for a promotion, or you want $10,000, right? It's not even a fair deal. There's many stories I can tell, but too bad. I don't have time for stories right now. How some people pray, at a time of desperation, and they promise something. I'll just say it quickly. One story. So one person, he's sailing on a ship, and the ship is about to get capsized. And he prays at this moment of desperation, please, 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 please save me. I promise I will give you 1 crore when I go back, when I get saved. So then he gets saved. He goes home, and then he thinks, bahut jalbazi kiya maine. I just, made this, promise very foolishly. So then he thinks of an idea. So he puts on sale his house for $1. And then he says, if you want to get this house, you also have to get my cat along with it. And the cat costs 1 crore. Okay? So what did he give God? He said that I will sell my house and give you 1 crore. That's what he told God. So he gives $1, not the 1 crore. So this is the kind of, business we do with gods. And also when we love someone, do we love them once a week? If your husband comes and says, or wife says, on Monday I love you, on Tuesday I love a different person, Wednesday I love a third person. But that's usually what demigod worship is like, isn't it? Monday maybe, I don't even know. Monday Shiva, Saturday Shani, Friday Santoshi Mata, Thursday someone else, But that's not really love. So what is demigod worship motivated by? It's motivated by desires. It's all about business. I want this, and you fulfill this. So we're really treating them like our servants, not masters or anything. I have these demands, I need these things, and you're supposed to fulfill. Here's 5 rupees, here's $5. Fulfill my demand, right? And even after the desires get fulfilled, what happens? New desires come. Maybe sometimes our faith increases a little bit. Yeah, I can go back to them again. But sometimes also you forget. I got my need met. So why do I need to go to temple again? So sometimes we see some people come to the temple only twice a year or something to ask for something, or when they're desperate, right? That's when they'll come. And even the desires get fulfilled, they crave for even more and more, because satisfaction does not come actually from fulfillment of our material desires. Rather, it keeps increasing more and more, even if you get. So therefore, here we see, so the people who go to demigods, they're just asking for some material benefits, and because the demigods are only in charge of material elements, the benefits that they give are also just material and temporary, whereas the benefits given by the Supreme Lord, they're eternal. Whatever benefit you get by worshipping the Supreme Lord, that benefit stays with you forever. Even if you turned a small screw in the temple as a service, that benefit stays with the soul forever. It never goes away. They also cannot award benedictions without the sanction of the Lord. We discussed this point kind of already. Another point that is made is that the demigods, or the demigod worshippers, they're considered to have small intelligence. Why? Because just like, for example, like the honeybees, they go and collect honey from different flowers. And then they keep bringing the honey, right? In the honey, there's a lot of honey bee, or honey, what do you call it? Hive. Beehive. There's a lot of honey. But what happens after this becomes big? One day, the farmer comes and he puts some smoke and fire and he takes all the honey. All the bees go away. And similarly, we are collecting so many things with demigod worship. But all these things, we will lose them either in this life, or if we don't lose them in this life, we will lose them at death. And we don't get to actually keep them. So if something is not giving us lasting benefit, should we go for that or not? Suppose I told you, I have a nice apartment I'm not using. You can go live there and you can do all the things that you want. You can renovate it. You can do whatever you want. But after 7 days, you have to give it back to me. Would you do? Would you invest in it? You wouldn't. You would just adjust and you would stay however it is and, adjust, that's all. So we have to think, what is the benefit that I'm getting? We should want eternal benefit. Also, even the faith with which the demigod worshippers worship the demigods, even that comes from Krishna. It's not independent. So in every way, we're dependent on the Supreme Lord. So, just very quickly. So, if they themselves are on the material platform, if we worship them, can we go to the spiritual planet? We cannot. We'll go to only a higher material planet, the heavenly planets. And we said that all the planets from Brahmaloka down to the bottom, they're all places of misery. They all have these real problems of life that we talked in the first class, if you remember. And also, there's another nice verse in the 9th chapter, which tells us that demigod worship, it is not the proper way of worship. So these are the verses quoted under this, but I'm not reading them. So suppose there is a tree, and you want to water the tree. Would you water each leaf, each flower, each fruit? Or where would you water? You would water the root. And if you water the root, automatically all the leaves and fruits and flowers get nourished. Or we have 9 holes in our body. Where do we put food? We put food only into the mouth. Because if the food goes into the stomach, it'll automatically nourish our entire body. And similarly, because the demigods also, they're part and parcel of the Lord, if we worship the root, the source of everything, automatically all the demigods also become pleased. There is no need to separately worship. And just think about it. Is it even practical to worship all of them? How many can you put on an altar? Maybe you can put 100 at the most. Even that is very difficult. But there is 33 million demigods. So you may say, oh, if I worship Krishna, will the demigods not get upset? I have been worshipping demigods all my life. Will they not get upset? Well, there's already many demigods that are upset because we're worshipping maybe 10 or 20, and there's another like 20 million, 30 million out there. It's impossible for us to worship all of them. So if we worship the root, automatically they're satisfied. Just like if there is there's a constable and there is the, whatever you call I don't know this position, SI or, something like that. So if the constable comes or the little security guard comes, and you garland him and worship him and treat him like he is in charge of this entire department, how's he going to feel? He's not going to feel good. He's going to say, well, I'm not in charge. I'm just this little guy in charge of this little area. And similarly, actually the demigods also, they feel like that. If we worship them as God, they don't like it. But if we give them a proper position, they're not upset with it. They're just fine because they understand fully what their position is. So, just a few other points. They cannot award supreme liberation. We kind of covered that. Also, demigods, they give whatever we ask for, whereas Krishna gives what is beneficial for us or what we need. Right? Just like if you go to a vending machine and you put a quarter and you press the Coke button, only Coke will come out. The Coke will not, the vending machine will never tell the child, you already had 10 Cokes for today, and this is not good for your health. It's never going to say something like that. But a parent will say that. And so Krishna is our Supreme Father. And so he doesn't give us, even if we ask him something that will hurt us, he will not give us. Or he'll give it in such a way that it will not hurt us. Meaning, okay, you had your share of candies for today, you can have your next candy tomorrow or after a few days. So that's why sometimes people don't come to Krishna because they know that he doesn't satisfy desires just like that. Whereas demigods sometimes, they satisfy very quickly, so they go to the demigods, right? And at this point came up again. Okay, material and spiritual. And there's stories to tell about each of these, but we're not going to tell the stories. So wrapping up. So now you may have this question. If Krishna wanted us to only worship him, why so many gods and scriptures and so on, right? Of course, we already said that these demigods are administrative gods. They're administrative positions. The thing is, Krishna is very merciful. And the whole Vedic society, the structure of the entire Vedic society was such that everybody can go back to God. And so people usually want quick benefits and then they want material benefits. So Krishna says, all right, you want quick benefits and material benefits and you're not coming to me. All right, at least go to the demigods and worship them so that at least by that you will understand that there is somebody in charge. There is an authority above you. It's not just by your work that everything is happening. There is something above. And it also brings about a certain regulation when we do that. Right? In the modern society, there's no regulation at all. People want something, they just do it. But in the Vedic culture, people just didn't do anything at any time. There was some regulation. Even they wanted to enjoy, there was some limits. And they did it in a particular way. So when we do things in a regulated way, it actually elevates our consciousness. By accepting an authority, it also elevates our consciousness. So therefore, this is there. But we should understand also what is the proper position of demigods. So what should be the real purpose of God's worship? Not for material benefits, not one day a week. To please Him, not to please us. And we should just ask Him to accept us and engage us in His service. And after learning all this, we should also understand that we don't disrespect demigods, but rather we respect demigods, but we respect according to their position. So we're not talking about disrespecting them. So some people out there think that, oh, ISKCON people disrespect demigods. It's not true. You respect them according to their position. Here's a picture of Vyasadeva and Ganesh. And Vyasadeva dictated the entire Mahabharata and Ganesh wrote it down. And Ganesh had this condition that I will write as long as you don't stop anytime. You keep speaking and I will write. And Vyasadeva says, all right, that's fine, but I have a condition too, that whatever you write, you have to understand it before you write it. So Ganesh is a demigod. And Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata, right? And all these verses that I quoted, even about demigods, they are from Bhagavad Gita. And Ganesh understood them. He wrote them down, and he was not offended by them because he clearly knows his position, right? So we respect properly. And in fact, it's our inherent nature to serve Krishna. Nitya Siddha Krishna. Well, that's another verse. Jivera Swarupahoy Krishnera Nitya Das. This is our constitutional position, to serve Krishna. And we talked about the many majestic aspects of Krishna, but there is also another side of Krishna, which is the sweet side of Krishna. He's the sweetest of all. He's the most loving and lovable person. All of you must have heard of this song, Madhuram, Madhuram, right? Madhuradipate. It's a very popular song. And he's the most perfect friend, son, husband, and lover. We can have these loving relationships with this most perfect person in a stage of neutrality, or as even the father and mother, you can love Krishna. This is Vasudeva and Devaki, this is Mother Yashoda. You can have a relationship with him as a friend, as these cowherd boys, or as a conjugal lover. And here's a picture of all the different 5 relationships that are possible with Krishna. And this relationship, each living entity has. We all have a constitutional relationship with Krishna. And this relationship with Krishna can be awakened through the process of devotional service. And when we practice this devotion, so there is a practice stage of devotional service. And after this practice stage, when we get purified and then we get perfected, then our inherent relationship that is already there, that becomes awakened. So just a quick recap here. So we discussed the 3 aspects of the absolute truth, how the Supreme Person is the original source, proprietor, controller, enjoyer, has a form, qualities, opulences in full. We discussed the definition of Bhagavan having 6 opulences in full. Krishna is the source of all so I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to wrap up because of time. And thank you so much for patiently sitting through this marathon. Any questions? Or maybe we should take questions. Thank you. Any questions for 5 minutes, and then we'll take prasadam. Downstairs, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yes, so the word Rama in the Mahamantra, Rama can mean, so Rama is like, using the examples we quoted today, he can be like the other candle because he's an avatar, so there's non-different in that sense. So the Rama can mean Lord Ram, can also mean Lord Balaram, who's actually the first expansion of Krishna. And actually Lord Balaram's appearance day is on Monday. Please make sure you worship him. He's the source of all spiritual strength, Balaram. But Rama also means Radhika Raman, which is another name of Krishna. This is also described by our acharyas. But the very word Rama means all pleasure, giver of all pleasure. So not just like Krishna means all attractive, like that Rama means all pleasure. So that's what, yeah. Yeah. Any other? Yes? A few words, yeah. Lord Brahma describes in his Brahma Samhita that he gives an analogy to explain. He says that if milk is like Vishnu, Shiva is like yogurt. That's how he explains. Saying that yogurt comes from milk, but you cannot make milk from yogurt. And so Shiva is also, so there is the Jiva Tattva, there is Vishnu Tattva. So all the avatars, they are Vishnu Tattva. And then the living entities, we are all Jiva Tattva. But Shiva has his own unique Tattva, and he's called Shiva Tattva. And he is said to be in between the material and spiritual. Not totally spiritual, not totally material. He's like in the border. That's to say it in a nutshell. He's a difficult tattva to understand also. But yes, he's in between. He's not the supreme. Whose names does Lord Shiva chant all the time and dance? He's chanting Lord Krishna's names. Parvati asks one time when Shiva was dancing in a wild way, what are you dancing and what are you chanting? He says, I'm chanting Krishna's names. Yeah. Anything else? Maybe we can stop. It is pretty late. I apologize. We went over 15 minutes. We'll go and have prasadam now. And if you have any more questions, I can answer during prasadam downstairs. Thank you.